Hello and welcome to 2210 Technical Writing. You've signed up for a 6-week version of the course, so let's dive right in. My name is Dr. Jonina Anderson Lopez. You can refer to me as Mrs. Anderson, Mrs. Anderson Lopez, or Gina. So that you know a little bit more about me, I'm going to share with you all the stuff that's on the screen. My other reason for sharing stuff is that the first day attendance assignment asks similar questions of each of you. Please submit the first day attendance assignment by 9 p.m. Eastern, or you will be dropped from the course. Most other assignments will be due at 11:59 p.m., except for this very first assignment to ensure attendance on the first day of this online class. My favorite horror movie is Get Out. I love psychological horror, and this is a great one, in my opinion. My favorite book is Fahrenheit 451. It was required reading in fifth grade. It has stuck in my mind ever since. For me, good writing is something that can capture the attention of an audience and keep it. If I had to point at one book as an example of this, it'd be Thomas King's nonfiction work, The Truth About Stories. He's succinct, to the point, and shares the story of his life and culture through relatable anecdotes. I'd say another hallmark of good writing is saying what you mean. In a professional sense, this means brevity. That's a word I'll say often, but what it means is to get to the point as quickly as you can. I'll always strive to do that in these lecture videos, but since you're in a 6-week course, these videos will run longer than with other classes simply because they're packed with so much information. Speaking of the course, it's 6 weeks long, and so I've broken the content up into 6 modules. They will not all be published at once, or I'm sorry, they will all be published at once because it is such a short course. Additionally, each module is broken up into day 1 and day 2 reading activities to mirror a face-to-face class in which we would meet for 2 days out of the week. Before diving into any of the weekly modules, begin with the MO or Getting Started module. It's labeled Stuff You Need to Know, and that's so true. It also features a couple homework assignments related to this first week, such as obtaining the e-text for the course, but we'll get to that later. Concerning homework, there's often 3 or 4 weekly assignments. Sometimes there may be more. I've tried to pare down the assignments to the bare minimum needed to understand and complete the learning outcomes for the course. Most minor assignments are due on Tuesdays, Thursdays, Fridays. Major assignments always usually due on Sundays, sometimes Mondays. Also, whenever you're cursing the amount of work in 1 week that you have to complete, remember, you signed up for this 6-week summer course. I'm just the boat captain. Each module will have required readings titled Understanding Concepts. I wrote these pages to help you understand major concepts for that week, which are in turn tied to completing minor and major assignments. If you'd rather hear these pages narrated to you, you can click the immersive reader button. If I remember later, I'll show you this function when we're looking at Canvas. The understanding concepts sections are also where you'll find the required video lectures. There are often 2 required video lectures for each module, maybe not always, and each video lecture will have a required video lecture password. The purpose of this course is to teach students to convey complex information to readers in a way they can understand and apply, even without prior knowledge of the subject. Similar to professional situations, students will engage in individual work and collaborative work. The collaborative elements of the course were designed with purpose in mind and are intended to mirror what students will encounter in professional environments. Yes, I know group work can be awful, but it will happen to you in your adult life. So you might as well prepare for it in a controlled environment now. This 6-week course is relayed in 2 phases. Initially, you can pretend you're a new employee, you're learning the ropes. In doing so, you learn basic document types and how to apply research to these professional documents. Later, you're more experienced and you're ready to be paired with your peers to write your way into solving a professional problem. Once more, navigating Canvas can seem overwhelming. However, if you navigate this course using the modules button, you'll be in a much better position throughout the assignment or throughout the semester. You are in college now. It's part of your job to know when assignments are due. Refrain from emailing or texting me asking me when assignments are due. You can always check this via the modules or the Canvas calendar. Miscommunication is never to blame concerning your missing or late work, especially when Canvas due dates are always your default. Life happens, I get that. Even still, there is a no late policy for all assignments. To meet y'all in the middle, I do offer a late pass, a once semester use late pass titled a Buckleberry Ferry Pass. Click on the assignment page to find details about this pass. You can use the pass once during the semester. It applies to any assignment. For Project 1, excludes Project 2 rough or final drafts or the self or team evaluations. Again, access this pass through Canvas, and there's other instructions for it through the assignment portal. The password for the Module 1 Day 1 assignment that asks for it is what you see on the screen, Carmen Berzado. There are 2 required video lectures for any given week. Sometimes there might be one, most of the time, because we're in a 6-week condensed course and there's so much complexity to this course, I'll try to record 2 lectures for you. The passwords change for each video and from week to week. Do not use the same password for different assignments. If you don't use a password for an assignment that requires it, you can still complete the assignment. You'll just miss out on a few points. The syllabus is a document you should review. It's our contract for the class, and even if you don't read any of it, you're still beholden to its policies. That means if you didn't read about the late policy or the online attendance policy, they still apply to you. What's great about the syllabus is that you can find my phone number and my email there. Please text me at appropriate hours of the day using WhatsApp. Texting is the fastest way to communicate with me. The syllabus also reviews all the policies you can see on the screen and a lot more. I don't require a syllabus quiz. You should still review the syllabus when you can, or you can review the visual approximation of the syllabus. There's a link for that SWAY presentation of the syllabus in Understanding Concepts. The next thing we're going to discuss is templates. A template consists of the writing expectations for a document. It helps you align what you're thinking of writing with what is expected from the audience and receiver. Oftentimes, writing requires you to express yourself while tailoring the message to appeal to others. Effective writers do more than just write sentences. They map their sentences in an organized way to appeal to an audience. Writing is a series of moves. Seasoned writers seem to complete these moves easily, but it's only because they memorize the templates. They know how to adjust them as they see fit. For newer and seasoned writers, templates can act as an instructional tool. Templates will help you become more creative, not less. Shakespeare didn't invent the idea of sonnets, but he wrote them well. Songwriters rely on verse, chorus, verse patterns. Screenwriters adhere to formatting conventions to create scripts. Sports players must learn the rules before participating. Ultimately, as Graff and Birkenstein have identified, creativity and originality lie not in the avoidance of established forms, but in the imaginative use of them. Templates will be provided for most assignments. This can take different forms. For some assignments, you'll see part of the assignment guidelines that you can follow one step at a time. For others, you'll have a student sample that sets the tone for a template you can follow without copying any of the wording or images. Other assignments will feature an outline to follow, or what you might call a template, to create the draft of your document. For most assignments, the guidelines will feature a "How I Will Grade This Assignment" link. This is just a rubric consisting of yes or no questions that will help you self-edit your work before submission. It also helps you understand my expectations for the look and content of the document you're submitting, and also shows you the point breakdowns because I use these rubrics to grade your assignments. Essentially, templates show you what came before and help you start writing. They establish confidence for writers who may not have encountered a particular format before, and it lends seasoned writers validation that they've been following what's expected for certain writing conventions. In the world of professional and technical writing, templates will not always be provided. However, as you're learning the expectations of this type of writing, I will provide templates when I can to ensure confidence and manipulation of these set forms for you, the writer. Let's talk about Project One now. It is designed to teach you about 3 common document types you'll encounter in the workplace: emails, memos, and business letters. Rather than just having to learn what the types are, you're learning through action. Technical writing is about action. What can you get done right now, and how simply can you convey it without losing purpose? To that end, you'll be learning about the 3 document types by choosing a professional scenario and drafting documents with professional audiences in mind. There are a total of 3 professional scenarios. You choose one of the 3. You'll also choose which document types, memo, email, or letter, are most appropriate for each audience. You will enact problem solving and display understanding of design and writing principles for professional documents. As you move through completing Project One, you'll go through the steps that you see on the screen until you're ready to start your draft. Before anything else, let's review the 3 scenarios attached to Project One. This will help you decide which scenario that you'd like to concentrate on. To start, scenario 1 is kind of customer service based, I guess you could say. You have to decide how best to accommodate a patient when resources in your lab office are quite limited. With scenario 2, it's more based in patient privacy policies. You must determine the best way to phrase the required documents in reaction to this situation. Scenario 3 is built around tech and customer service issues related to a patient who was incorrectly scheduled. You must determine how to communicate with the patient and the colleagues in your office to solve this issue. All the scenarios they're not perfect. They have gaps, and you can fill in the details of these gaps with your imagination. You should definitely be filling in the gaps using problem solving. For instance, with most scenarios, a patient is just not happy with a certain outcome. What can you relay to calm them and let them know things will be improved? Additionally, you don't have to use all 3 document types when you're responding to the 3 people for your chosen scenario. You might decide that the first person needs a letter, the second person needs a memo, and the third person needs a letter. The permutation of the document types is up to you, and it's part of the assignment outcomes. I want to see your decision making about the document types along with your problem solving and how brief you can be in these documents while still relaying purpose. There's a lot going on with Project One. So right now, let's look at Canvas so we can review the week 1, day 1 readings and assignments. So when you're on the front landing page of the course, you should then navigate to the modules, but you'll also find, because there's 2 projects for the course, most of the links are curated for each project here. So as you're going along in the course, you may find it easier to navigate this way, but I really suggest using the modules pages, because when you click on the modules pages, you'll get easier access to all the readings and things that you need as well. So to start, you should review module 0, especially because if you are a person who wants to know all of the due dates for the course, they're collected here. And if you need other USF important dates, they're there as well. What's also here are 2 assignments before the end of week 1. The first is accessing the e-text for the course and uploading your first document to that additional workspace. So essentially, you're going to purchase the e-text for the course, but it's also where you will upload major assignments for the course. So if you never purchase the e-text for the course, you will not be able to access the ability to upload your major assignments. So you won't be able to do 2 things. You won't be able to access the e-text, and then you won't be able to upload your major assignments. So it'd be near impossible to pass the course without access to the e-text and without access to upload project 1 rough draft, final draft, project 2 rough draft, final draft. So you need to access USF rights by the end of week 1. Answer this question after you download this document. And then after you do that, upload that document to USF rights where it says PTC practice upload before the due date, and you're done with this assignment. The second module 0 assignment is what we talked about at the beginning of the lecture. You're going to highlight all of these questions, click reply, answer them, and that's it. The last one is optional. And the question before that just asks you, based on your own experience, have you ever written an email letter to a company and what was the outcome? To already get you thinking about customer service related issues or composing a professional document, your experience with that, and just to get you thinking in that mode, because that's what Project 1 is all about. So those are 2 fairly simple assignments that are due before you dive into the meat and potatoes of the course. And this first one is super important because if you submit it late or you don't submit it at all, you will be dropped from the course. And as a reminder, it's due the first day that the course officially starts, before 9 p.m. So please reply before that time. After you do that, dive into week 1, which is going to discuss purpose and audience. I'm going to close this stuff out. Before clicking assignments, click on the lecture pages that I've written for you, and I mentioned it in the video lecture. They're called Understanding Concepts. And at the top, you'll get links to the embedded readings for the course for that week. This will change every week. And sometimes when you click on these, there won't be readings per se. Sometimes there will be links or whatever. Sometimes it'll just say chapter 12. And that just means access the e-text on USF rights and find that corresponding chapter via the table of contents and read it. Sometimes the what I'm asking you to read will not match up with the exact chapter number, but look at the title of it, like writing style is actually 11. I need to update that. But just make sure you're reading the right chapter for that week. There's also always student samples, so you get an expectation of what to do and what not to do. And we'll also use them in some assignments later on. So you want to make sure that you can access the student samples, you can access the readings, and you can always access extra credit. But these all have different due dates and expectations. And as part of this very short summer class, I do not accept extra credit late. So make sure you follow all the instructions for extra credit and you review the due dates accordingly. And as you go through these pages, it will review a lot of what we talked about. You can even look at the once per semester late pass that you can use for a variety of assignments, but you cannot use it for project 2 rough or final drafts, which is essentially your final exam for the course, because there is no exam per se for this writing course. Instead, you have to submit project 2 rough and final draft definitively on time. But for other assignments, you can opt to use this late pass, and once you use it, it's gone. But also access the project 1 scenario so that you know, do I want to write about scenario 1, or I really connect with scenario 2, or maybe I really like 3. And then you read all of the details about it to get a better idea for what you will be responding to for project 1 and the 3 people you need to respond to. You never need to worry about all 3 scenarios and responding to all. That would be 9 responses. For project 1, you just need to draft 3 responses based on the scenario you choose. So you review the lecture page and then the one additional day 1 assignment that is due. It asks you to review a scenario very in line with project 1. This is almost like a dress rehearsal for your project 1 draft. I'm getting you acclimated to reading a scenario, silly as this scenario is about bidets, and how can you respond accordingly to this scenario. There are optional readings for you before you start drafting your responses for this day 1 exercise. If you don't access them, I'm going to know, because you're going to fall into a lot of these do's and don'ts for professional documents if you don't read these additional supplemental readings. So essentially, in one Word document, respond to these 3 people. So if it helps you to copy and paste information about those 3 people, so that you can then start drafting your responses. If you label it, that will help me, like response 1, and then response 2 to this lady. And then your third response is a social media post. You have the option if you want to for the third. So the first 2 responses are, I believe, you composing emails to these 2 people. And then the third one, you can choose what kind of social media response you would make to the wider public. And you can choose to pretend like I'm going to compose a tweet or a TikTok, and I'm going to actually, oh no, stop. I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to take a screenshot of it and I'm going to include it here. You don't have to go the extra mile and do that. If you want to, you can. What I mostly want to see is, can you construct 3 responses, 2 emails, and 1 social media response in response to that scenario on the assignment guidelines? And the third response, since it's a different type of response are you showing me the purpose and audience for this very different type of response? Because response 1 and response 2 are emails, social media. So you're going to have to tailor your responses for all 3 people, but especially for response 3. And because this assignment corresponds with the video lecture that you're watching right now, it's asking you to include it at the top of the assignment. So you could type it there and bam, you're done. If you want to understand how I'm going to grade the assignment, review the rubric as we talked about in the video lecture earlier on, making sure to submit it on time, because for this course, I do not accept any assignment late. We'll talk more about the rest of Module 1, which includes composing your rough draft, in the next video lecture. I hope you found all of this helpful, and until next time.